that would make the difference.
Just in looking through everything, one of the things that I think is really pressing that we don't seem to have a lot of information on is really that sort of timeline gap that we have with Santa and with Ethan.
Welcome back to my mental health and crime channel. My name is Huda London. I'm a licensed cognitive behavior therapist and a licensed mental health counselor. This is for educational purpose only. This is all my thoughts, theories, my speculations. Please like, share, and subscribe. I've gone back to the beginning of this case, which I do quite often, almost every 3 months. And I totally agree with Tracy, who's a former FBI and CIA agent. The timelines has all been changed from the very beginning, and there has to be a purpose for that. It was always said that these crimes were done between 3 to 4 a.m. That means the roommates called 911 at 11:58, 2 minutes to 12, on the 13th of November, on a Sunday. So that would have been 9 hours and not 8 hours, if you go according to the timeline between 3 to 4. If you pay attention, most of the things are happening between 2 to 3:20. That's where the Banfield boys sighed, watching the pictures of Kaylee in the sitting position, and grub truck people, especially the group yelling Xana and Ethan's name, saying, "Let's go, Ethan." And they keep on yelling out Xana's name. It's all happening from 2 to 2:15. The tripod is quite strange that it was recording that particular night. It was from Illinois, Chicago. It recorded from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. in the morning. So it recorded a woman running hysterical from the sliding door to the front of the house, and a black truck was in front of the house. Those timelines are very important. I believe something happened to Ethan and Xana between 2 to 2:15. And something happened to Kaylee and Maddie. When Maddie calls, it says in the 911 transcript that Maddie Morgan, MM, calls Bethany Funk at 2:53. Pay attention. Kaylee and Maddie start calling Jack D from 2:56, 2:26. The last call made to him is at 2:52. 2:55, you hear a female yelling, "Stop it, stop." And Kohlberger is supposed to have left home at 2:54. So he wasn't involved, according to my research and theory, which I've always said from the very beginning. This is two separate incidents. Kaylee and Maddie were unalived later. So when Steve is saying he didn't have to go to the 3rd floor, I don't take much of it because it was two separate incidents, and everyone was a target in their own way. Whether it was the Sigma Chi boys and other frats when it comes to Ethan and Xana, in my opinion, and whether it comes to the Jacks, Davids, Adam, when it comes to Maddie and Kaylee, number 9, number 8, everyone hanging around at the grub truck. This is just all my theories, speculation. After being the first person to expose, actually, what side was watching of Kaylee in the sitting position where I zoomed in. And the same thing with the people yelling Xana's name. Number 9 was showing us the sleeping position. is giving a suggestion to number 8 right after he spoke to Maddie. That's why I always say he put something in Maddie's mouth, in my opinion.
Narrowing that down. We don't know for sure that they left the Sigma Chi house at 9. It's just when they were last seen. And
It's always been said that Ethan and Xana left the Sigma Chi house at 9, but that couldn't be true because the police were saying they came home at 1:45, which isn't true either. They must have come home by 2:10, and that's when they were unalived, in my opinion. So, is there nobody, no sorority sisters, no frat brothers who've seen them that night at the Sigma Chi party? Let's not forget, Maddie, Xana, and Ethan were all three the main targets of David B. and David Lott. There was a 911 call made from the Sigma Chi. Not the Banfield call at Taylor Avenue, but there was a call made at 3 a.m. from the Sigma Chi party. I wonder what that was about. Saeed, I believe, came to distract the cops at the Banfield. But what was the timeline of Xana and Ethan? How come the police could never get that correct? And then they put the case immediately on gag order. The Sigma Chi fraternity was under the microscope. I believe the 2 DNAs or 3 DNAs could have come from there. Number 9 could have been one of the mixed DNAs under Maddie's nails. He was hugging her. He's whispering something in her mouth. Xana's dad said he spoke to her at 12 p.m. and Xana was at home. She was chilling at home. So did someone go to the house and attack them? 210 is quite strange. I'm starting to wonder if this driver Eric G has any involvement. We've never heard from him. He's never done an interview with the news channels. We've never seen, he says, besides his social media pictures. He was the same driver that not only drove Kaylee and Maddie at 10:10 from their house to the corner club, he drove them back from the grub truck to the house at 1122 Kings Road, and then DM called him too. She texted him and asked him if he is working. The 911 call transcript shows that. That was at 2:10. The time, I believe, and I've always said from the very beginning that something could have happened to Xana and Ethan, unfortunately. Maddie and Kaylee were later. That's why I believe Jack Showalter, the people at the grub truck who were driving the white car, White Sierra, I think it's a Hyundai Launcher, basically Hannah Clee's brother and brother's friend. And the 3 guys. The short guy was carrying a machete. All these people were up to no good. At the Banfield, one of them had a black glove on. The one in the middle with the night goggles. And he's been in an incident where he had to unalive his father through self-defense and his father's dog. This case just gets more baffling. But what I'm trying to say is I don't believe Brian Christopher Koberger could have actually done this, because if he left home at 2:54, we could hear the female yelling at 2:55, "Stop it, stop." 2:53 or 2:52, 2:53 is when Maddie Morgan calls Bethany Funk. I wonder why she didn't pick up. What was going on that night? Why did they decide to call Hunter first and Emily? Why not Ethan Chapin, his brother and sister, his triplets? Everyone knew about these crimes before the Vandals alert came out.
Down. We don't know for sure that they left the Sigma Chi house at 9. It's just when they were last seen. And
I remember in the beginning of this case, there was a YouTube creator who got a screenshot from someone who was at the fraternity party in Sigma Chi, and the person said it was around 1 or 2 a.m. They had Ethan and Xana in the screenshot. Can't remember who that YouTube creator was. But such things are really important if it's true, because that could help law enforcement know more about Xana and Ethan's timeline. Was Xana and Ethan really seen at the party? Somebody would have a picture of them. Social media should have a picture of them. Instagram, Snapchat. These people are using Yik Yak, different kind of apps, TikTok, Reddit, 4chan. Then you had the Grub Truck Twitch app. Were they paying for the live stream? Where was Saeed getting these pictures from? At the Banfield. Where were the Banfield boys watching these pictures from on their phones? Where was the Grub Truck people watching their pictures? Why were they calling out Xana's name? Was there a fight club? All these are important questions to find the unidentified DNAs they should have found from the very beginning. It's really unprofessional. Man's life is lying on the line. Needs at least a correct justice to that. Doesn't help to give a description with one bushy eyebrow. DM said that she thought I read the reports. DM thought that she saw a Caucasian, a white man. That's what she said. She said, I don't know why, I just thought he was white. So did you see him or didn't you see him? How much can you tell with one eyebrow and not two eyebrows? She didn't mention even his sharp blue eyes. Koberger left his house at 2:54. That's when his phone was switched off. So he would have been leaving his house from Washington Pullman. He couldn't have been involved in these unalivings. I wonder if he was the DoorDash driver. Did he come with the food? Or was it a setup? Bethany Funk has exculpatory evidence. Did she call him there? So that they could put the cover up on him. Touch DNA is not the blood DNA. They found already one on the railing inside the house. Shouldn't that be enough? Three mixed DNAs under Maddie is nails, male DNAs. Imagine Xana, Ethan, and Kaylee. If they found 3 under Maddie's fingernails, how much did they find under the other 3 victims? Question mark. If that's something solid, they would have spoken about it before. They would have come out with it by now. They wouldn't be running around with one bushy eyebrow, not 2. You can count a dozen of people who have bushy eyebrows, from the Grub Truck to Banfield, to the Corner Club. Add Adam, in my opinion. What has a K-bar knife and knife sheet got to do, and a baklava that Brian Koberger bought one in January in Pittsburgh, the baklava. Then he bought the knife sheet and the knife. And we're not even sure if Amazon delivered it to him. Why would he plan for this 10 months ahead of the time? Especially go to Idaho that has the unaliving sentence. It's a state that does the DP. Why would he go all that way? If he left his house at 2:54, no way, in my opinion, could BK have been involved in these 5 unalivings. Because I believe Zan and Ethan was between 2 to 2:20. 2:15 max. The surviving roommates have always said, in my opinion, I believe they're involved somehow or the other. Whether they're covering up for someone, whether they've been threatened not to talk, whether they're lying. The whole 911 sounded staged. I hate to say that, but it's the truth, in my opinion. I believe there was a lot going on in the relationship between these 5 young women. May 3 of them rest in peace and Ethan. I believe DM was being bullied. She's been hazed by Maddie. Xana was sitting there. DM was being bullied for her gender, allegedly. Maddie put that up on her TikTok. That's no secret. She's calling her Jaden. I believe there was a lot of, it was personal, these unalivings. Really personal. It was targeted. Then we have Hannah Clee is unaliving. It could have been a revenge for that too. And for DM. DM's boyfriend, Quinn Kelly, was seen there that night. They were taking pictures and putting it up on VSOP. Why didn't they call 911? They would have heard everything happening in the house. All the screaming, people fighting for their lives. They had self-defense wounds. Xana had it, Kaylee had it, and Ethan had it. Maddie must have even had it, because if 3 mixed male DNAs were found under Maddie's skin, her nails, that means 3 different males were trying to attack her. And she rests in peace. The whole 911 call sounded staged. Why did they decide to call Hunter Johnson and Emily first? Are they better than the 911? Is that why Chief Fry said the surviving roommates are now witnesses? They were just there. We saw that black truck. So imagine what that tripod recorded. I don't believe BK was involved. Because he drove from his house at 2:54. Even if he switched off his phone, these unalivings was happening. 2:55, you hear a female yelling, "Stop it, stop." These 3, his timeline makes more sense. They were stopped at 2:54. That is when Koberger's phone went off, or went to flight mode, or was switched off, or whatever, however we want to take that. But these 3, look at how close they are to the property. Look how anxious they are, how shocked. Their behavior tells a lot. The actions tell a lot. The clothes don't make sense. The one in the middle has a black glove on. One black glove was found. at the crime scene. Showed you that plenty of times. They refused to stop for the police. They carried on just walking like nothing happened. They could have easily thrown the weapon in the field. One of them has van shoes on. The one with his hands crossed. You can see his hand is very red. It's injured. Look at how red his hand is. Though it's blurry, you can see the one in the middle has a black glove on. See, look at the time above, 2:54. That's when Koberger's phone went off. Maddie and Kaylee are already at home, and you can hear a female yelling, "Stop it, stop." So it couldn't have been Koberger, not in my opinion, because I think his car was seen in that area at 3:25. If you go according to the first previous timelines, they're trying to change the timeline on purpose, in my opinion. You can see it's 2:54. So Koberger's phone has already gone silent, or has gone to air mode, or air flight mode, or it's switched off, or it's not contacting the tower. But look at the movements going around at that time. The Banfield boys are out. Saeed is there. The stop was made at 2:54. At least it's been going on for a minute now. See, look at the time. It's 3:03. Koberger comes here at 3:25, I believe. So he's not even around these areas. His car wasn't seen. Showalter was in a white car, white Sierra, at the grub truck. It looked like a Hyundai Elantra with Hanekli's brother. What was going on actually? The timeline doesn't make sense with Koberger's timeline. I think they're trying to frame him, the surviving roommates, in my opinion. Let me know what y'all think.